To you. Happy birthday to you. Cheers. It's up with us.
On March 30th, 2025, Alexandria police received a call about a disturbance inside a house on the 5900 block of Ron Marr Drive. The caller reported loud noises and possible gunfire. Officers were immediately sent to the location. When they entered the home, they found two people dead. 38-year-old Shaterrica Danielle Smith had been shot. Near her was Tracy Johnson, 42 years old, who had also lost his life from what appeared to be a self-inflicted gunshot. Police quickly marked the case as a murder-suicide. The discovery left the neighborhood in shock. Police cars lined the street, and yellow tape was placed around the home as officers worked through the night. Reporters soon arrived, recording the scene and sharing details with the public. News outlets repeated the same message. Two lives are gone inside one Alexandria home. Shaterrica Smith was not only a name in a report. She was a mother raising two children. Her life ended suddenly, leaving behind family members who depended on her. She was known by many as someone who cared deeply about her loved ones. Tracy Johnson was her husband. Authorities explained that after fatally shooting Shaterrica, he turned the weapon on himself. The violent act ended both of their lives within minutes and changed the course of their children's futures. By the next morning, the event was widely discussed online and across the city. Local media carried the headlines, and people shared posts on social media, reacting to what had taken place. The story spread quickly because of the tragic circumstances and the sudden nature of the deaths. The case became one of the most talked about domestic incidents in Alexandria that year. It highlighted how a single night inside a home could alter everything for a family and a community. Police later confirmed the investigation remained open, but the immediate conclusion pointed to domestic violence that ended with a murder-suicide. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment below. Where are you tuning in from? What are your thoughts as this story unfolds? Your voice matters. These are real people, real tragedies, and real lessons we can't ignore. Share this video with someone you care about. It could make all the difference. Welcome to Unseen Crime Dossiers, your home for spine-chilling cases, haunting before mysteries, and deep dives into the world of crime. From jaw-dropping real-life events to groundbreaking forensic discoveries, we're here to uncover the truth behind the most gripping investigations. Step inside, examine the evidence, and lose yourself in the shadows of true crime. Shaterrica Danielle Smith was born on November 9th, 1986. She grew up in Louisiana and lived most of her life in Alexandria. Friends describe her as a person who valued family, cared for her children, and maintained strong ties to her community. She became a mother at a young age and dedicated much of her adult life to raising her two children. Those who knew her said she worked hard to provide for them and made sure they were cared for. Her children were the center of her life, and she often focused her energy on building stability for them. Beyond family life, Shaterrica was known to many as someone with a warm presence. She interacted with neighbors, relatives, and friends regularly. People in her circle often said she was dependable and willing to help when needed. Her daily routines reflected her focus on responsibility and her role as a mother. Her life was not without challenges. Like many people, she faced struggles that came with relationships, work, and raising children. Despite these difficulties, she continued to move forward and kept her priorities on her household and her family. Community members remembered her as someone who carried herself with strength. At gatherings, she was seen engaging with others and keeping her children close by her side. Her presence left an impression on those around her, especially because of the way she balanced her responsibilities. Her death at the age of 38 ended a journey that was still in progress. She left behind children who will now grow up with memories of her care and guidance. The absence created by her loss is something her family will carry permanently. Shaterrica's story is not only marked by the way she died, but also by the life she lived. She was a mother, a daughter, a friend, and a part of her community. Her background shows a woman who built her life around love for her family and commitment to her role as a caregiver. Tracy Johnson was 42 years old at the time of his death. He was a longtime resident of Louisiana and lived in Alexandria with his wife, Shaterrica Smith. He had been in a relationship with her for many years, and together they built a home where they raised children. Tracy was known as someone who had responsibilities within his household. To those who interacted with him, he appeared to maintain a presence as both a partner and a father figure. His role within the family was central, as he shared daily life with his wife and children under the same roof. In the community, Tracy was seen as a man who had his own connections. He had relatives, friends, and people he engaged with outside of the home. Like many adults, he carried the duties that came with managing both family and personal life. His history included both positive moments and personal struggles. Those around him were aware that the relationship between him and Shaterrica was not always calm. Their connection showed signs of conflict, and the difficulties in the marriage were not hidden from people who knew them well. Over the years, he became linked not only as Shaterrica's husband, but also as someone with a reputation shaped by their relationship. The bond between the two defined much of how he was viewed, as their household became the setting for both family life and conflict. On March 30th, 2025, his life ended in the same home he shared with his wife. Police reported that he died from a gunshot wound that was self-inflicted. His actions that day placed his name forever tied to the tragedy that also took Shaterrica's life. Tracy Johnson's background shows a man connected to his community and his family, but also a man whose personal struggles and decisions led to a violent ending. His story cannot be told without including the relationship that defined much of his life and ultimately shaped the final outcome. The day of March 30th, 2025, started like any other in Alexandria, Louisiana. Shaterrica Smith and Tracy Johnson were inside their home on Ron Mar Drive. From the outside, nothing gave away the tragic scene that was about to unfold. As the hours passed, neighbors began to notice a disturbance. Sounds of conflict were reported from inside the house, and it became clear that tensions between the couple had reached a breaking point. The normal quiet of the street was replaced with signs of trouble that drew attention. Police were soon called to the residence. When officers entered, they discovered the bodies of both Shaterrica and Tracy. She had suffered a gunshot wound that ended her life, and he was found dead from what was described as a self-inflicted shot. The discovery shocked everyone in the area. Law enforcement quickly secured the scene, marking the beginning of an investigation that would try to piece together the final hours of both individuals. Their home, once the center of family life, had become the site of a crime scene. News of the death spread quickly through Alexandria. By the next day, the case was being reported by local outlets, each highlighting the shocking nature of two lives lost inside one house. Friends, relatives, and neighbors began processing the sudden loss, while police continued their work. Investigators documented the details step by step. They spoke with people who knew the couple, gathered information about what may have led to the violence, and worked to confirm the sequence of events that ended with two bodies in the same room. The timeline closed with police ruling the case a murder-suicide. The official report confirmed that Shaterrica Smith died first from a gunshot wound, and that Tracy Johnson then turned the gun on himself. This conclusion provided the final order of events, but left behind a household forever changed. News of the deaths moved fast through Alexandria. Within hours, neighbors gathered in small groups, speaking in hushed voices about what had happened behind the closed doors of the Smith-Johnson home. The quiet street that once symbolized routine family life was now marked with yellow tape and patrol cars. Friends of Shaterrica expressed shock that her life had ended in such a way. Many remembered her as a dedicated mother who cared deeply for her children. To them, the sudden loss was not just tragic, but nearly impossible to understand. Others focused on Tracy Johnson, a man some had known for years. For those who worked with him or saw him in the community, the news was difficult to process. They struggled to match the familiar image of a neighbor with the details shared by police. Church groups and local organizations stepped forward quickly. Vigils were organized, candles were lit, and words of comfort were shared. These gatherings created spaces where people could support one another while trying to process the weight of the tragedy. Social media became another outlet for reaction. Posts honoring Shaterrica appeared, with friends sharing memories and photographs. Some left messages of sympathy for the children left behind. Others expressed disbelief, typing out short messages of shock that spread widely across timelines. Local leaders also responded. Community figures called for strength, reminding residents of the need to lean on one another during time's crisis. Their words reflected an effort to hold the city together, while grief spread from one household to many. By the end of the week, the reaction had grown into a shared expression of loss. The voices of neighbors, friends, and leaders all pointed to the same truth. 2 Alive had ended, and the community was left to carry the weight of what happened on Ron Mar Drive. Detectives assigned to the case worked through the scene with precision. Evidence markers were placed, photographs were taken, and reports were filed. The house was carefully searched, each room reviewed for anything that might explain how events unfolded. The coroner's office confirmed the causes of death after examinations were completed. Shaterrica Smith's death was ruled a homicide caused by a single gunshot wound. Tracy Johnson's death was ruled a suicide, the result of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. These findings align with the physical evidence collected from the home. A firearm was recovered at the scene. Ballistics testing tied the weapon to both deaths. For investigators, this was a crucial piece of evidence that helped establish the sequence of actions inside the residence. Reports also detailed the timeline of the evening. Witness statements and nearby surveillance footage were reviewed to create a clearer picture. Investigators concluded that the events happened within a very short span of time, leaving little chance for intervention. Law enforcement also searched for background information. Records, previous reports, and communications were examined to understand if there were earlier signs of conflict. Their findings added context, but did not change the conclusion about what occurred on that night. The case file was eventually finalized. Once all evidence had been processed, authorities confirmed their official ruling, a domestic situation that ended in murder-suicide. This conclusion was later released to the public through official channels. By the close of the investigation, the sequence of events was recorded in detail, but the answers left behind could not erase the loss. The file became part of official records, marking an end to the inquiry even as the impact remained. News of the deaths spread quickly through Alexandria. Local media covered the tragedy with updates as details became public. Headlines drew attention to the sudden loss of 2 lives inside a single home. Family members gathered to support one another. The impact was especially heavy on the children left behind, who had to face life without both parents. Relatives stepped in to provide stability, arranging care and support as the household adjusted to a new reality. Community members responded with acts of kindness. Vigils were organized, flowers were placed near the home, and neighbors offered assistance. These gestures showed a city attempting to bring comfort in the face of loss. Workplaces and friends of both individuals also felt the effects. Conversations about what happened continued for weeks as people tried to process the events and their meaning. Social spaces became filled with stories, memories, and reflections. Counselors and community leaders encouraged open discussion about the importance of safety and awareness. They urged people to recognize warning signs in relationships and provide help when possible. This became part of the broader dialogue sparked by the case. The official conclusion of the investigation did not stop the emotional weight from carrying forward. Families mourned, communities reflected, and awareness campaigns reminded others of the seriousness of domestic violence. Over time, the names of Shaterrica Smith and Tracy Johnson became part of local memory. Their story stood as both a personal tragedy and a reminder for others to take signals of conflict seriously. The legacy left behind was one of caution, reflection, and community support. The events in Alexandria sparked conversations that extended beyond the neighborhood. News outlets highlighted the situation as part of a larger pattern involving household violence across the country. Each report connected the story to the need for broader awareness. Local organizations began holding sessions to inform people about available resources. Shelters, hotlines, and community programs were promoted to ensure that those facing similar struggles could find help before tragedy occurred. These efforts gained more attention because of the case. Schools and faith groups also contributed by hosting talks about recognizing unhealthy behavior. Leaders used the incident as an example to explain how unresolved conflicts can escalate. The goal was to give young people the tools to avoid repeating such outcomes in their own lives. Law enforcement officials reviewed their response systems. They emphasized the importance of reporting concerns early and taking preventative measures. The tragic scene served as a reminder that early involvement can sometimes change the direction of dangerous situations. Advocacy groups placed renewed focus on education campaigns. They distributed flyers, shared online posts, and spoke at public meetings to reinforce the need for awareness. The message was clear. Community action plays a role in prevention. National platforms took note as well, using the case to illustrate the seriousness of domestic incidents. Stories like this reach wider audiences, creating dialogue about how families, communities, and authorities could work together. Through all of this, the legacy of Shaterrica Smith and Tracy Johnson became linked with a call for stronger safety measures. Their story contributed to ongoing efforts to highlight warning signs and encourage collective responsibility. The case of Shaterrica Smith and Tracy Johnson stands as a detailed reminder of how quickly lives can change. What began as an ordinary day in Alexandria ended with an irreversible loss that drew the eyes of both neighbors and news stations. The sequence of events, from first reports to the official findings, formed a story that has been documented carefully. Each step showed how circumstances developed, how authorities responded, and how the community was left to take in the aftermath. Family members continued to express the difficulty of adjusting without their loved ones. Their daily routines, once filled with ordinary moments, now carried a lasting absence. Memories became the main connection they held on to. Investigators placed this case into the broader record, adding it to the list of incidents studied for prevention and policy review. Files, statements, and recordings were preserved to provide insight for future handling of similar matters. Media coverage gradually slowed but left behind archive reports, articles, and broadcasts. These records ensured that the events would not disappear from public awareness. Even as other stories took the spotlight, community leaders worked to sustain conversations sparked by the incident, making sure the names connected to this tragedy were not forgotten. Their involvement emphasized continuity, reminding others that the lessons drawn should remain active. The story of these two lives, now told and retold, continues to carry weight beyond the location where it unfolded. It holds a place in the collective memory as both a cautionary account and a call for greater vigilance. Here at Unseen Crime Dossiers, we're driven by a mission to uncover hidden realities, honor forgotten voices, and keep their memories alive. If this story made you pause, reflect, or feel something, there's more coming that will challenge you even deeper. Make sure to hit subscribe, tap the like button, and turn on that notification bell so you never miss a case. We're dropping new episodes regularly. And trust us, what's ahead is even more chilling. Before you go, we want to hear from you. What moment hit you the hardest? Drop it in the comments. Your perspective matters, and your voice helps keep these stories alive. Until next time, stay alert, stay informed, and never stop seeking the truth, because every life deserves to be heard.